not just, I mean, with commercial and office and things, that if you're having some kind of sale, it's probably not appropriate. But if you're doing anything that's outdoors that may affect traffic circulation, pedestrian circulation, just to include a little site plan showing where it is so that if there's we can monitor ingress, egress for emergency purposes and things like that, that we're not creating a problem with handicap accessibility, where ramps are blocked and things like that, where you couldn't enter into the establishment. So that's primarily what we're interested in seeing. It's not like the site plans that are submitted to you guys. This doesn't even touch the tip of the iceberg of when you look at our site plan section of the zoning ordinance. This is, hey, we just need some extra information. If you are doing a tent, just a reminder, you do have to get a separate tent permit. Believe it or not, tents are flammable, and so yes, we do care. Don't want somebody hurt. So that is something that we do require a permit for. I forwarded this ordinance to the Farragut Business Alliance, and at this time I would like to introduce Allison Souza, who is the new Executive Director for the Farragut Business Alliance. And she is very familiar with Farragut because her past employment has brought her to our doors in the past. And so we look forward to working with her. And I don't know if you have any questions or anything.
I noticed on the recommendation from the board said the way that number 1 reads, that 15% would be fixed, but I'm assuming that's not the intent, since in the ordinance itself it says a minimum of 15%.
They want to go with something larger. That would be a preference. It's when we had met with David Purvis, he was primarily interested that there'd be at least a minimum of 15%. A lot of it's going to be dependent on the configuration of the sign that they choose to go with, as to...
But the flexibility, the board wanted the flexibility there, not a fixed 15%. Because in reading the Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen's additional input and agreed upon the following, and that number 1.
I'm confused because this hasn't gone to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
What's FBA then?
Business Alliance.
Oh, Business Alliance.
Farragut Business Alliance, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry.
Betty, if you're finished, I do have a question I'd like to maybe skip back.
Sure.
We're talking about the neighborhood events, and the Foxton event a couple of weeks ago kind of comes to mind. And one of the things I'm looking at is in Section B, Paragraph 1, subsection E, there's a requirement that the parking should be accommodated on the proposed property. Is that our intent to say we don't want during an event like this, we don't want people parking on the street? So hence the Fox Den event probably would not be a permittable event in the future?
No, what we don't want is where there is not adequate parking on nearby streets and on the parking itself, where you end up having parking on both sides because you physically can't get enough in that area, which in turn would block emergency vehicles. And because parking is allowed on the streets. What we just don't want to see happen is where you have an event that's sponsored by the neighborhood but ends up being more of a regional thing rather than a neighborhood thing. And so you're bringing in a whole bunch of parking. I'll use the Foxton, the golf thing. At that time we post all the roads that you can't have parking on it, because what we don't want to see is parking on both sides where people can't get into their driveways. You have an emergency. They've blocked access from an emergency. So that's my intent. Now, if it doesn't say that, we need to wordsmith it accordingly.
I think that subsection E is ambiguous to me. Actually, it's probably not ambiguous. It's actually even a step further. To me, I read that as saying, provided the land can accommodate the proposed activity, including parking. So that's telling me as let's say a homeowner association party planner, that I must provide parking for the event on the land and exclusive of the public right-of-ways. I'm just, once this language is in there, it's in there forever. And is anybody else reading it that way? That I just don't want there to be any concern in the future that that something that is not our intent is all of a sudden in there. Now, if our intent is to keep them off the street, then I think it's okay. But but what I'm hearing is that as long as it's safe.
That's primarily our goal with all of this, is that we don't create a situation where there's an event that creates a safety issue, but also an inordinate inconvenience issue. That don't get into my driveway because there's so many vehicles, kind of thing.
Well, I see where Noah's coming from. It is slightly confusing. What if we were to add language that said, right after provided the land, so it would read like this, may be used for a special event provided the land and current available parking without modifications can accommodate the proposed activity.
Or adjacent right-of-ways, maybe.
Yeah.
How
So-
about excluding parking? Just stop, put a period after activity.
I think that's even more confusing. Well, let me think about this. Let's read it. Open space owned by a homeowner association may be used for a special event, provided the land without modification can accommodate the proposed activity, excluding parking. Okay, yeah.
Just delete that word, just delete including parking, just that you're
Oh, just period,
accommodating
after
the
activity,
activity.
period. And
Period, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that would clean it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that actually is a better way of cleaning it up.
Okay. I want to mark it on this one that I have the orange on.
I think when the staff looks at it, they're going to look at the proposed activity cohesively with the activity, the event, the tents, the bouncy houses, and the parking. So I think that covers it.
Questions or comments?
Did the Business Alliance change the logo, or do you still have the?
Can you please come, I hate to ask you, but can you please come up to the microphone?
In mind, I'm on day 8.
Okay.
We are in the
Read it in the paper, sorry.
yes, we are in the process. I believe we're trying to balance. Apparently, there have been multiple changes to the logo, which some people believe has diluted the campaign. So we are trying to balance the need to change it with the possibility of diluting it further by changing it again. So we are working with the current logo, but making slight modifications to it that will lend itself better to use year-round, which is as vague and specific as I can be.
That addresses what we discussed a month or two ago, specifically about it was red and green little gift boxes or balls, I can't remember, or something, but it was very Christmas-oriented,
Christmassy,
which is
yes.
great for Christmas time, but
Yes.
just not the rest of the time.
And the other thing we want to do too is tie in the branding with the Shop Farragut with the branding of FBA,
Okay.
and we're going to do that via the color scheme, I believe, is the way we're leading it as of today. We're meeting as a board next Thursday, so we should have it clarified by then. You're welcome. Pleasure meeting you all.
Thank
Welcome.
you. Any other questions or comments? And is there anything we need to do, Ruth, with that particular?
I have made the change of deleting the words including parking on page 4B, E, and then as I've stated to add on page 3, I, all signs and associated support posts shall be removed at the end of the special event. It's also added as D on page 5 and also as G on page 6. No, that'll be what you and Ed sign off on, so move accordingly.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion of approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much and welcome. Discussion and public hearing on an amendment to the Farragut Municipal Code, Title 14, Chapter 4, Sinkhole Ordinance. to clarify that once sinkholes have been identified by the Planning Commission and have been indicated on a plat or site plan, the appellate body is the Board of Appeals.
In your packet is a copy of Resolution PC 1114 and Ordinance 1123, and also included a marked-up copy cut and paste from the Municode. And Betty caught an error, so I'm going to have to go back to the original ordinance. If you look on the first sheet of that in subsection 14407, number 1, if you read that, there's some missing words. We're going to have to go back to the original ordinance and figure out what that's supposed to be. I don't know what that is. It's just the red stuff that I'm familiar with tonight. And that is what is in Ordinance 1123. So we are recommending approval of Resolution PC 1114, which recommends approval of Ordinance 1123 and the text amendment to the sinkhole ordinance to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Any questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 11 is for discussion only. Discussion on the amendment to the Farragut Municipal Code Title 9, Chapter 4, Sign Ordinance, Section 9-40631, off-premise directional signs to clarify trailblazer sign placement locations. And Ruth is going to tell us what a trailblazer sign is.
All of you are familiar with them if you've ever driven on the interstate, which I'm sure there isn't a one of you that has not. The Trailblazer Sign Program is a national program. It is regulated and operated by TDOT in the state of Tennessee. It is the blue background informational signs on the interstate's rights-of-way with the little logos that are much bigger when you're standing next to them than when you're driving down the interstate at 70 miles per hour, I might add. But what they are is, it is an alternative to billboard advertising, and it's actually very effective from the standpoint you know which exit to get off to the destination that you're looking for a particular establishment. It is primarily, it is geared toward interstate travelers, so it's gas stations, it's lodging, which is inclusive of campgrounds. It's also inclusive of tourist attractions. That is a Johnny-come-lately to the program, but it follows the same criteria. And what the criteria is such is that you have the blue sign as you're traveling down the interstate to warn you, hey, next exit you're going to find a Bob Evans, which I know every Bob Evans between here and Wisconsin. Then it tells you when you get at the bottom of the ramp whether you turn right or left and how far you have to travel. What we did when we amended the sign ordinance back in 99 and we did the complete rewrite, we wanted to expand on this but acknowledge that if you're not on the main drag, and since we don't allow other forms of off-premise advertising, that we would have our own Trailblazer sign that was an extension of the interstates and TDOT's. So that if I'm coming down off the interstate and I get to the bottom of the ramp and it tells me that the Super 8 is that I turn left, to find the Super 8, I turn left and then I'm driving down Campbell Station Road. Well, the Super 8 is actually behind what is now where the Dunkin' Donuts Center is and behind the BP. So if I'm not familiar with it, I'm looking for the Super 8 and I don't really know where to turn. And so we have another logo sign that they have to renew annually with the town.